Well, hey, y'all. My name is Willie Lawson of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. Trust that you are well this evening. It's dang near morning. Um, I'm going to entitle this video, Let Me Ask a Question. Because it's really, because, we can not get to anything important until somebody asks a question. And a lot of times, in today's society, simply asking a question is beyond the pale. Certain things you're just supposed to accept and not ask any questions, even if you have a question. Well, I have a couple of questions for this video, and we are also live on TikTok. So if you guys here see me looking over here, no one's over here. Well, my other camera's here, my phone's here. So if you guys who are on TikTok see me looking this direction, it isn't because I don't want to look at you. It's because I got something going on over here too. So, and I hope you can hear me. I just need to ask a couple of questions. We were at the house this morning, and wife was working, and I was tootling around on Twitter, and I found an article. About a women's soccer team that had a couple or three of the women from the U.S. national soccer team, the World Cup championship soccer team, that played a group of retired soccer players from the UK, dudes in their 40s. So what you had is this group of young women in their 20s, according to Don Lemon, women in their prime. According to Don Lemon, uh, Don Lemon is obviously gay because women in their prime ain't until their 30s and 40s and even later. Uh, Women get in their prime when they get there, and when they get there, it's good. I'm just telling you, whenever they get there, it's good. So sometimes it takes just like other humans, it takes people time to get into whatever is going to be their prime. So supposedly these women who were in their athletic prime in their 20s played a group of dudes that could have been either their older brothers or their dads. Now, before the match, they talked a lot of smack. You're going down, blah, blah, blah. Your old man will be sucking air, blah, blah. Well, when the match was over, the men, the 40-year-old men, 40 plus year old men old enough to have been some of these women's dads, had won the match 12-0. 12-0. They crushed them. So we talked about that. How come there are not, we see people like Will Thomas from Penn, who is a dude wanting to swim on the women's team swim team. Why don't we see the opposite? Why don't we see the opposite? That's what That's the kind of thing that you should ask that question. Why aren't we seeing the opposite? Why aren't there women who identify as men deciding to play in the NBA and want to play on the Denver Nuggets or the Miami Heat or the LA Lakers? Why is that? Why don't we see, like, tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern time, the Nuggets visit Miami and play the Heat? How come on both of those teams there are no women who are identified as men wanting to play in that game? How come? How come? What do you guys think? What do you think? How come the same thing isn't, how come the reverse isn't true? How come? Can we even ask that question? Now, a lot of people don't want us to ask that question. Well, because they know the answer to that question. Serena Williams, who often gets called the best tennis player ever, the best athlete ever, um, mentioned on the Tonight Show, she doesn't want to play the guys. The guys are faster, they're stronger. She likes playing the girls. Serena Williams. Now, Serena Williams, hell of an athlete, incredible athlete, dominated her sport for years. 4 years. So I'm not saying anything negative about Serena Williams at all. I mean, I can't. How can you? I mean that you just be dumb to say anything negative about Serena Williams and her athletic ability, because the trophies and the championships speak for themselves. However, what she knows is this: even at the top of her game, she knows that she could not compete directly with the men. That's what she knows. So I guess, you know what I'm saying? So if Serena Williams says that, then I've got to think, yeah, well, that explains a lot. That explains why somebody who was aggressively average in the pool, uh, Leah Will, whatever his name is, um, decided that he would swim against the females. Now, here's let me had an article pulled up, and if you guys who are on TikTok want to watch this video, just when we get done here, give me a few minutes, and then you go to www.fightbackmedia.com, www.fightbackmedia.com, and the video will be up, and that way you'll you'll be able to follow along a little better. Because this week, a woman who was a teammate of Will Thomas on the University of Pennsylvania's swim team appeared in an interview to finally break her silence about what she experienced competing and sharing a locker room with him. Now, again, to recap, Will is a dude. Now, the article says biological male. Will Thomas is a dude who identifies as a transgender woman. He's a dude who identifies as a chick. He competed on the University of Pennsylvania's men's swim team for 3 years, consecutive seasons, 3 years in a row, before deciding to compete as a woman and go by the name Leah. Women were forced to share a locker room with this dude, and I mean, this dude wasn't. Apparently, he hadn't visited Target and gotten the swimsuits that you touch. Yeah, he hadn't. Dude was fully intact, splayed open, right? Goes in the locker room, swinging, beans and franks everywhere. Um, so that these women were forced to share a locker room with this dude and felt pretty uncomfortable, right? And he also robbed some women of some opportunities. When you guys, I mean, if you guys participate in these sports, you know that you only take X number of athletes to events, and so you have these competitions on the team to see who's going to swim this, who's going to swim this, who's going to be on this relay team, that kind of thing. And a couple of times, Will took those opportunities away from other teammates. He even took home a Division I title from Riley Gaines. Uh, uh, at the NCAA swimming championships. Y'all know that story, right? Y'all know that story. Y'all know that story where he and Riley Gaines actually tied, and Riley was told that yeah, we tied, you tied, blah blah blah, but we're going to give the trophy to Leah, the will to the dude, and all she asked was how come? Remember what I said a minute ago? I said a minute ago. Riley Gaines' big flaw, her big mistake was that she had the guts to ask why, to ask a damn question. Because you're not supposed to ask questions. Why? She asked what was the mindset for giving him the trophy. She said, yeah, I know we got the same time we tied, blah blah. I know that. But why does he get to take the trophy home? And she was basically told because it looks better to the for the NCAA. How's that look better? Another question. I know I got another sticking question. How does that look better? How does that look better for the NCAA to give a women's swimming trophy to someone who's obviously a dude? How does that make them look better? I know I keep asking these questions. How does that make them look better? I'm just asking questions. Paula Scanlon, Paula Scanlon, who is Will's former teammate, appeared in the Matt Walsh's video a couple of years ago. That film, "What Is a Woman?" She was anonymous at the point because I think she was still on the team, or at least at the school. Walsh spoke to several quote experts on gender ideology, asked them to define um, the word woman. Predictably, they were unable to give anything that was coherent and push a narrative that sex and gender are not the same thing. Because we're supposed to believe that. This week, Scanlon decided to come out publicly with her story, noting that the University of Kentucky swimmer Riley Gaines had been vocal about how female athletes have been treated unfairly due to transgender athletes. Gain tied with Thomas in a race and left empty-handed. Now, what they didn't do, and my question is, why didn't they do this? Why did they say, hey, listen, you guys tied. You're both going to take a picture with the trophy. You're both going to be on the top rung. Take a picture with the trophy. And then we're going to get another one. And we're going to send those trophies to you. As you probably could already tell, my IQ is average, but it seemed like the thing to do. But the NCAA wanted to look good and gave the trophy to Will. They gave a women's NCAA championship trophy to a dude. Scanlon explained that she found out in the fall of 2019 that Will, one of the leaders on the men's swim team, again, he had run that men's swim team at Penn for 3 years in a row, would be, quote, transitioning to the women's team after taking some hormone replacement therapy for a year. The women were never given their own closed door meeting ahead of time without Thomas in the room to raise their questions and concerns about the situation. They were just told this is happening and you are going to like it because this is how they're doing this. This is happening and you're going to like it and you're not going to ask any questions. You're just going to accept it. But before this, Scanlon had never even heard of a male transitioning to live as a woman who would go on to compete in women's sports. And she shared that she was acquaintances with Will, and that he was quiet and didn't speak much to people, and they weren't close friends. Definitely not someone I would expect to be part of such a public scandal, she added, because he always seemed like someone who kept to himself. Regarding the locker room situation, now this is where dads show up, right? This is where dads show up. Scanlon said that the school never spoke to the girls to inform them that they would be sharing a locker room with a fully intact male, right? She shared that she tried to avoid Thomas and getting there and change as fast as possible. She said, the locker room was uncomfortable. I did notice a few girls. There's a few bathroom stalls in the bathroom, and I did notice that some girls changing in the bathroom for practice, which she said I'd never seen that before. Um, she said, for me personally, the biggest thing was when you're changing, there's all these people talking in the background, all these women's voices, and then all of a sudden you hear a man's voice. It always kind of I always jumped up a little bit hearing Will's voice. So in the pool, she said she never directly competed against Will, but she watched her female teammates lose opportunities to go to meets who would have qualified if they didn't have to compete against the dude. She said one girl in particular, Scanlon said, was crying when she lost an opportunity to Will. As a result, the swimmer scheduled a meeting with the school's athletic department. She was so upset. This girl was so upset that she went to the school's athletic department. When she came back from the meeting, though, she had changed her tune completely, and she thought Thomas being on the team was a magical and groundbreaking thing. Hmm. Hmm. There was something going on in that athletic department that wanted us to keep quiet, and I was like, "This is getting scary." This is Scanlon talking. She said that the girls were told in a meeting that Will wasn't there. Do not talk to the media. You will regret it. What? Another thing they said to us is Leah's swimming is non-negotiable. And then they provided us with counseling services to help us be okay with Will's swimming. Scandal said she was petrified. Now, if we're going, this women's swim team, these group of women, this dude shows up who they all knew who he was, who'd been on the men's team for 3 years in a row, is now swimming on your team, and you don't have anything to say about it. As a matter of fact, you better damn well not say anything about it. Yes, he's going to be in the locker room. He's going to be full Frankfurter and bean swinging, and you better be okay with it. You better be okay with it. This is like Target. This is like Target. Yes, there will be men, fully intact men, dressing in the dressing rooms right next to your 8-year-old daughter, and you better damn well like it. And you better not say anything about it. This is the same deal. It's the same deal, right? Scanlon continues. Um, they continue to tell us that our opinions were wrong, and if we had an issue with it, we were the problem. I mean, this is it's funny. This is a microcosm of what's happening now. If we say, "Hey, listen, that boy on that volleyball team that has given two girls concussions shouldn't be on that team," then there's something wrong with me, and then I'm a transphobe, and I'm a homophobe, and that I'm a bigot, and I'm a whatever, right? When you see the MMA boxer that has split some skulls open because he's a dude fighting women, and we're just supposed to be quiet about it. We're supposed to be quiet about it. How in the hell can we be quiet about it when it is obviously wrong. We see it in track and field. You know where we don't see it though? We don't see it in football. And we don't see it in football because there are so few women's only football things. We don't see them playing flag football on women's teams. And we know we don't see, like I said a few minutes ago, we don't see the opposite. Scanlon keeps saying, looking back, I don't know why I ever even trusted that they might care about anything else. She says they so effectively silenced us even within talking to each other, adding that she held out hope that the institution like the NCAA would step in and do the right thing. Instead, the NCAA, as well as other institutions, allowed Will to compete and to continue to compete. Scanlon said that is her belief that women's sports should be reserved for biological females. And instead of a men's team, there should be an open category where transition athletes can compete, but it would have to be, but they would have to compete against biological males. Now, I get what Miss Scanlon is saying, but they won't do it because the transgender girls, the dudes pretending to be girls, won't do it. You know, in our question at our question answering session at the house today, um, we sort of came up with this analogy. It's like the 14-year-old who wants to compete against the 8 and 9 year olds. They're a head and a half. I mean, they're a head and a half taller. They weigh 50 more pounds, and they are dominating the 8 year olds. That's what they want. That's the sickness they have. That's the sickness they have. That's, that is the sickness they have. And I mean, it just is. I don't really know. Um, I really don't know of any other way to put it because if it weren't a sickness, it wouldn't be a big deal. It just wouldn't be a big deal. All right. Okay. Somebody here asked, "Who is in track and field?" It is Caster Semenya. Is one of Caster, Caster Semenya. Semena. That's one of them. And the fact of the matter is, somebody asked, "Well, how many is it?" It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's one, because if it's one person like Will Thomas taking up opportunities from somebody who, quite frankly, has worked their entire life to get to that level, someone who may be my daughter or my niece, and that person is robbing them of an opportunity, or that person at a high school is robbing my niece or my daughter of the chance necessarily of that chance to maybe get a scholarship, continue their education. That's problematical. So it doesn't have to. So I don't have to wait until it's 85,000 people. That's not the important part. The important part is that is happening. That is happening at all. There isn't a reason. There's no reason it happened. I'm asking a question from TikTok here. Somebody asked me how many is it, and asked me of the track and field um, of somebody in track and field, and I named some of them. So let's see here. Athletes with sex development differences, such as Samena and the Olympic 200-meter silver medalist Christine Mumbumba of Namibia, are not transgender, although these issues over have similarities. I understand. But the idea is that it should never happen. It should never happen. So it doesn't matter if it's happened once or twice or 5 times. It should never happen at all. It's like asking, well, how many banks did you rob? Well, I only robbed one bank. I don't know why everybody's so mad. I only robbed one damn bank. Not like I robbed 50 banks. You robbed a bank, you shouldn't have robbed a bank. You know? So that's really the problem. That's really the problem. That it shouldn't be happening at all. And why? And my another question. And and why? Although most of us know in our brain, why are we, or why do we have this? I don't know, this collective. There you go. Sorry, I got some audio playing that's driving me nuts. There you go. This sort of collective hallucination that is fine. And everything's fine. How do we have this sort of this collective hallucination that we're all looking at the same thing and we're going, this is fine. This is fine. Yeah, yeah. There should be boys on girls teams, and that's okay. That doesn't really have any problem with Title IX. That's fine. Now, I answered my own question a little bit ago, and this is what because a lot of people don't know anything about this. Although I wrestled in high school, not at this weight. I wrestled at 110 pounds or so. Whatever. Um, I wrestled at 110 pounds, but so there are damn near three of us in here now. But and the difference then is, in wrestling, especially high school wrestling, or even college wrestling, if women want to wrestle men, it is at weight class. Now, men are still stronger, men are still faster. So you only see that really in high school, where in high school it's a lot more about technique. Strength is important, yes, especially in the upper weight classes. Strength is incredibly important, but in the lower weight classes at 98, 101, 110, maybe all the way up to 140. Although the dudes at 140 are rock strong, um, but it's about strength and technique. So a lot of times, especially in the younger ages, the girls can keep up with the boys in wrestling. They can keep up, and especially when they're 8, 9, and 10. When puberty starts to hit the boys, then we start to see that separation. So you do see some of the girls participating, in the boys' sports, and even the combat sport. If catch can wrestling is a combat sport, if you want to consider that a combat sport, yeah, you see it then, and you can see it in boxing at the younger ages too, and you see it in martial arts at the younger ages as well, for the very same reason, because their strength before puberty is similar. Is similar. Um, but after that, you don't see it. After that, you don't see the women going, "Hey, listen." You don't see dudes pretending to be women, or women pretending to be men, deciding to jump in the boxing ring with Mike Tyson. Hi, I'm here for my concussion. I'm here for my concussion. You don't see that because everybody knows that. Everybody knows better. Now, my last question in this video, my last question on this live is, how much longer is this going to last? States are deciding, there are a number of states that are deciding, nope, not in my state, not in my state, no. And of course, this month especially, they're getting massive pushback. There are. But do we have, do people have the resolve really to stand up against all the stuff that they're going to be pushed back with? Do they have the resolve? That's what I'm really curious. That's what I'm curious about. That's what I'm curious about. Do they have the resolve? Because it's going to be tough. I'm just going to tell you. Minnesota governor says his state is a national model for transgender rights. It's funny. I was told at one of the places I work, this is 5 or 6 years ago, and I got to give it. I mean, I forget the person who told me, they don't work anymore. That said that that gay rights and transgender rights are going to be the new civil rights movement. And I poo-pooed it. I did. I said, you're crazy. I was wrong. Because these folks are turning what a lot of the civil rights workers in the 60s and the 50s, the 40s, 50s, 60s, we like to think of the civil rights movement as being something in the 60s, but I got news for you. The civil rights movement started at the turn of the century, last century, not this century, last century. The early 1900s. They have turned this thing into, or trying to turn it into that. I personally find it offensive. But what I don't want to do is get into a tar baby fight. That's why when people call me names, I just shine it on and move on, because I don't want to get into this back and forth tar baby thing. I don't want to. So if you don't know what tar baby is, look it up. Look it up. Want to know how much longer this is going to go on? And do people actually have the resolve to do anything about it? Are you willing to quit the team? Are you willing, parents, are you willing not to send your daughters to this school or that school if indeed that school is going to allow dudes to be on that team? Especially in swimming, in tennis, and any other of the women's sports. If you think that it might take an opportunity away from your kid, are you going to continue to send your daughters there? Are you going to continue to support your nieces going there? Because quite frankly, it doesn't matter a tinker's damn what I say. It's only going to matter what the people who are involved have to say. And are they going to be strong enough to put up with the criticism and being ostracized and being pointed out and shamed, right? Are they going to stand up for their kid in a way that's going to make a difference? Because I think that's the solution. The solution is, okay, Penn, you're not going to have a women's team. And now you're going to be at odds with Title IX. Because you've decided that Will Thomas is swimming on the women's team is non-negotiable. Okay, now you don't have a women's team. And because of your actions, you destroyed it. No. Unfortunately, Unless you're just a couple of schools, just a couple of schools, Tennessee, UConn, basketball programs. Um, there's only a couple that make money, so it isn't like uh, the guys from Alabama walking away from the Alabama football squad that make a ton of money for the university. So there isn't anything like that in women's college sports. There isn't. Even the Oklahoma softball team that's very good, the Florida State softball team that is very good, Stanford, some of these other softball teams that's very good. Let's see here. Oklahoma, Joe Harris situations, Oklahoma. Yeah, yeah. I mean, so this is so there isn't a an analogous women's sports venue like there is like in men's sports. Like if the Kentucky basketball team or the Duke basketball team decide to walk off the floor, they make a lot of money for the university. Or the Alabama football team or the Notre Dame football team decides to walk off the field. That would catch a bunch of people's attention. It doesn't exist anywhere. It doesn't exist in women's sports right now in college sports, which makes it vulnerable because those women have to depend on the ethics of the NCAA and the ethics of the people running their universities. And as we've seen, especially in the Riley Gaines situation and in this whole thing with Will Thomas at Penn, women just can't depend on the NCAA to do the quote right thing or their universities to quote do the right thing. So my final question: what would you do? What should be done? You can answer that question at fightbackmedia@gmail.com, fightbackmedia@gmail.com, fightbackmedia@gmail.com. What do you think should be done? You might want to say nothing, everything's fine. Or you may have something that we can talk about. What do you think? Listen, we got to get out of here. So again, thank you ever so much for dropping by the live. Um, if you if for some reason, for some unknown reason, you like what's going on, go ahead and follow me here on TikTok. Go ahead and follow me on TikTok. You guys can follow me on Twitter at RBM Show. RBM Show. Um, love to hear from you. Well, I got to get out of here. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye bye now.